Please like, share, and subscribe. This will allow me to focus on creating more content and building a community for this universe I'm crafting. An ostentatiously gilded ship descended from orbit, its engines burning with a searing white intensity. The vessel belonged to pirate Lord Voda Saryan, ruler of the Free State Empire of Baka, and one of the rare human allies of the Astani. This alliance, however, was forged more out of necessity than mutual respect. The Nivorians provided Voda with the technological edge he needed to maintain dominance over the outer world factions, while he supplied intelligence and logistical support. Voda's insatiable thirst for power, bordering on vanity and insecurity, was tolerated. An unfortunate but essential trait for survival in a political landscape where an empty hand was often a missing one.
The insufferable human has arrived.
Kadaya muttered, his disdain barely concealed. Veza, standing in his shuttlecraft, squinted at the comment. He shared Kadaya's mistrust of Voda, though it was not his place as general to voice such opinions openly, especially in the possible earshot of his officers.
I hope the captain remembers why we are here,
Veza said evenly, his tone a quiet reprimand.
and that he recognizes certain words which do not add to this task are not appreciated.
Kadaya straightened his posture, his tone contrite.
The captain has not forgotten.
The transport craft landed with a hiss of decompressing thrusters. Voda disembarked, flanked by a heavily armed escort. Though a protective veil shielded his face from the swirling dust, his exhaustion was evident in the lines around his eyes.
Welcome, Lord Voda.
Veza said, stepping forward to greet him with a handshake. It was a strange human custom, but Veza had grown accustomed to indulging it for the sake of diplomacy.
I hope your journey wasn't problematic. I apologize on behalf of the hierarch. He had urgent matters to attend to.
Voda seemed unimpressed, his expression sharp beneath the veil.
You promised me a system.
He said without preamble, his tone impatient.
Your lord promised me a system.
Indeed,
Veza replied calmly.
and it will be yours. However, unforeseen circumstances have made achieving this more complex than anticipated.
As Voda's men set up a table, one of his aides handed him a large map marked with plotted points. He spread it across the surface and gestured to a specific region.
This system
Voda began, pointing.
is the last viable option for fulfilling our agreement, unless you no longer desire access to the heavily guarded Felstar.
He moved his finger to the 9th non-allocated zone.
I have intelligence that the Salam Alliance is establishing a deep space operations station here. If they succeed, it will severely limit my operations.
He traced the map toward the Azuka system.
That means relocating my base to Azuka is not just necessary. It's inevitable.
The Asteni delegation had anticipated this. They understood their dependence on Voda to conceal their activities. If the amalgam discovered their presence, the consequences would be catastrophic.
We've already prepared a countermeasure.
Veza said, removing a projection box from his satchel. He placed it on the map, and its lasers built a holographic model of their target.
This
Veza exclaimed.
is what your people call a deep space asset protection unit. These vessels have made it increasingly difficult for your operations to occur in the 9th Nazi.
Voda listened intently as Veza continued.
While we know you're aware of their smaller naval bases, we've identified another, a larger mobile base, mustering Base Elysia.
The holographic projection shifted, displaying an elaborate mapping of the base's movements. One of Voda's lieutenants leaned in, wide-eyed at the data.
They've hidden it well,
Vesa continued.
constantly relocating it to predetermined points along the periphery of Archon influence.
Voda frowned, his tone skeptical.
I thought the Archon worlds did not influence this sector.
They don't.
Vesa replied.
But they've established artificial boosting stations, a temporary extension to their zones of influence. We've begun transferring technical schematics to your systems. The rest will be sent once you grant us access to the Fell Star.
Voda's demeanor hardened. Vesa pressed on.
With these schematics, you'll find exploitable gaps in their movements. However, thinning their numbers at the Fell Star is essential. If their forces remain intact, they'll delay us long enough for the Amalgam to organize a counteroffensive.
Privately, Vesa harbored a deeper fear than the Amalgam. The far greater danger of Warden, a human-constructed AI that had once turned the tide against the Yasteni. Its devastating strategies and relentless efficiency had nearly annihilated them during their first invasion. Warden's cunning had lured them into a trap, baiting them with what the humans had called Earth, a decoy planet destroyed by reversing the polarity of local space using an Archon world. Even now, the Asteni knew that Warden watched for their return, its vigilance unyielding, as Vesa studied Voda's reaction. He wondered if the Pirate Lord understood the full scope of their situation. The Fell Star was not just a prize. It was the crucible where the Asteni might be forged anew or pulverized into extinction.